Hey everybody, welcome back to Jeff Bowl Central. We're checking out Civilization 7 today. Civ 7, I'm playing it on the Xbox Series X. Why are you playing it on Xbox, Jeff, and not PC? Because I don't have a PC. I'm an Xbox guy, I'm a PlayStation guy, and I love my phone for mixing and editing all these fine videos for you. But I do play it on Xbox Series X. And the good news is, Firaxis themselves, I don't know who else would have done it, developed this game for console and PC at the same time, for the first time in this series' history. Me, an Xbox player, I'm getting basically the same more or less thing that you're getting on PC. Maybe not quite as pretty, maybe not with quite as many bells and whistles. The UI looks a little different, whatever, right? Same game. Okay, so Civ 7. I've been hearing a lot of stuff online. You know, I've been reading the sheets, the beat sheets.
Check the hot sheets.
And they tell me that people are really dissatisfied with certain elements of this game and are insisting that it's not as good as 6 even. And 6 even had some detractors back in the day, mostly for a cartoony look and too much perceived simplicity. Well, Civ 7 definitely has gotten rid of any cartoonishness, and they've gone with a much more realistic visage aesthetic principle. Including a UI that's a little static, that lacks a little flavor, and it's a little hard to kind of, the dimensionality of it is impaired because it all kind of looks the same and kind of simplistic. But it's all right. I can deal with the UI, and I like the aesthetic. I like the new design of the look of the game. But if we're talking about simplicity, some things have been streamlined that I kind of wish had some of the complexity back of, say, Civ 6 or past Civs. I've been playing Civ since Civ 4, which I did have on PC because I had one back then. Okay. The other thing that you're not gonna worry about this on the PC version, but on console you very well might, especially if you've got other gamers in the house besides yourself. In my situation, it's me and my wife, and sometimes we have our nephew come visit too, and he likes this game just as much. Civ 6 on console had a beautiful hot seat single couch co-op mode. Well, versus, but single couch multiplayer mode. This thing was great. Hot seat, you passed the controller from one person to another, and it just was turn-based, so it didn't matter. And so I was like, there's no way that they're not going to bake hot seat back in for Civ 7 on console because it was such a great feature. Well, they didn't. It's not here.
Where is it?
It may come later, but for multiplayer, they've definitely focused on online, the online realm, which is fine. It's just that, man, that hot seat was really sweet. We were just playing it the other night, me and my wife and my nephew here. We were playing it, and it was great. And so then we stopped playing, and I went back to Civ by my lonesome. And yeah, it's good old Civ, and I'm playing this wonderful campaign where I'm where I'm both Confucius and Indian, because that's another thing. There's some choices in here that might seem a little strange to longtime fans. For instance, your Civ and your ruler are not synonymous anymore. You can pick, for instance, Confucius, who was Chinese, and put him in India, where he was not born and raised in India. That's not his culture, but you can mix and match, which is kind of fun. And, you know, you can always choose to pick the Civ that represents your hero, quote unquote, your ruler, your leader. But the truth is that there's a lot more mixy-matchy type stuff. And then it even extends to your Civ itself. Now, Civ 6 had this cool the progression of ages, and from light age to dark age, that came in the DLC content later on. And it really modified the game, and it made it a lot more complex. Well, maybe not a lot more complex. It added some wrinkles. It added some cool wrinkles. And so this follows that age thing, but here's what happens. At the end of every age, you have to pick, or you get to pick, a different Civ. So the idea being that if you actually look at history, which this game is, you know, the biggest proponent of in the gaming space, one of the biggest, right? You find an inciting event, a certain trauma, you know, a culture-wide moment in time where everything seems to go wrong, right? And there's a big upheaval, and a new age emerges from it at the end, and lo and behold, civs that used to exist no longer exist anymore, and so they become something else. That's the idea behind it, but explain to me how Russia becomes the United States.
I'm 37. What?
I'm 37, I'm not old.
Because there was a disease in the ancient times of Russia, and then now they're the United States, right? Or say, explain to me how ancient Rome becomes modern Spain necessarily. Not to say that it's flawed, because I actually kind of like it now that I'm getting used to it. Because again, the mixy-matchy stuff is a lot more potent. I feel like I have more control, but I feel like it comes at the expense of maybe a little bit of authenticity, okay? A little bit of historical authenticity. So that's a thing. You know, there's minor things everywhere that are changed from 6. Not just the UI, not just the aesthetic principle of the entire game, but, you know, for instance, there's no more builders. That's a thing. You used to have to make builders, and each one had, by default, 3 charges to either improve or repair or circumvent or do something else with one of your hexes, one of your tiles within one of your civilization's territories, okay, one of your cities. And now you just, that's gone. You select the city, and when the time comes to expand, you do the work of the builder without having to make the builder. That's a choice you could argue is better, but there are many such choices throughout the game. If you've been used to playing Civ 6 all this time, especially since, you know, these games, Fire Access, these sim-type games, EA with the Sims, right? They come out with a base version, which is bare bones, and then they expect you to pile on and pile on and pile on. And so in this game, it comes in the forms of more civs, more rulers, more scenarios, and eventually they'll offer some DLC that kinks up the rules a little bit more. So this bare bones launch edition of Civilization 7 is perfectly serviceable, and let me tell you something else.
Let me give you a hint, Junior. Maybe we can live without libraries, people like you and me, maybe. Sure, we're too old to change the world. But what about that kid sitting down, opening a book right now in a branch of the local library and finding drawings of peepees and wee-wees?
Once I got into it, once I understood the rule set, once I understood the changes, once I was on board and ready to play, and no longer upset about that hot seat thing, because me and my wife can't play together now, which is kind of a bummer for console gamers, it really is. I was into it, man. I liked Civ 7. I enjoyed every second of every game, maybe not every second, of every game that I played. Regardless of culture, regardless of ruler, it is a good game with a solid core. This is my contention. A solid gameplay core that will keep you invested, especially if you love the series already. But they've skimped on a few things. And because they've co-designed it with console in mind, furthermore, it's simplified for PC as I understand it, as I've heard from all these videos. So you guys are getting kind of a simplified raw deal. I'm getting on console kind of a simplified raw deal based on what we were expecting, based on what the last game brought. And it seems like they've focused so much on the online space and on the singles player space, and that's fine, but I feel like if I could have just gotten that hot seat back, how else would I have changed it? Would I have taken some of these things out and streamlined this and that? Like, that's an individual thing. That's on Fire Access. Overall, I will say that when it's firing on all cylinders as a game, it is just as good as 6, but that as an overall package, it is not as good as 6. I still prefer 6, even with the cartoony aesthetic and all the quote-unquote simplicity that one brought. This is a great series, and no matter which version you go to in its history, pretty much, you're going to find a solid game. I'm going to put this one in the middle of the pile as it stands now, right? So I need to get a 20-point system here because I need to get 8.5s and 8, because I give everything 7s and 8s and 7s and 8s and 9s and things like that. I'm always in that range. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to give Jeff Bull Central is now going to be a 20-point rating system. This game gets a 7.5 out of 10 for me. Would I give it an 8 or an 8.5? Probably. I wouldn't go as far as 9 because it is just Civ, but for a $70 game, I do take price into account when I give out a rating. That's a thing. For a $70 game that wants you to pay $130 for the big edition with all the stuff that they haven't even announced most of it, I'm going 7.5 for now. It's not a bad game. It's just a little bit bare bones, and some of the changes, depending on who you are and what you're interested in, might not sit well with you, might not fly. That's my review of Civ 7, y'all, on the Xbox Series X. Kablamo! Like, subscribe, enjoy your life. Amen. Bye, everybody.